Most people will never reach their full potential, not because they lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity, but because they're trapped by invisible habits that quietly steal their future every single day. Success isn't reserved for the gifted. It's claimed by those willing to confront uncomfortable truths and make disciplined decisions repeatedly. In this audiobook, you'll uncover the 7 hidden reasons keeping you stuck, the mental patterns silently sabotaging your growth, and the exact mindset shifts required to break free. Listen carefully, because by the end, you won't just understand what's holding you back, you'll know exactly what to do about it. Chapter 1. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. There is a lie that has stolen more dreams than failure ever could. It sounds reasonable. It sounds responsible. It even sounds intelligent. I'll start when I'm ready. But ready is a destination that never arrives. There will always be one more course to take, one more book to read, one more piece of equipment to buy, one more excuse disguised as preparation. That's the trap. The perfect moment does not exist. It never has. It never will. If you're waiting for perfect conditions, you're choosing permanent delay. And every day you delay, someone with less talent but more courage moves ahead of you. That's not because they're better, it's because they started. Done creates opportunities. Perfect creates delays. Read that again. Done creates opportunities. Perfect creates delays. Perfection is procrastination wearing a better outfit. It hides behind logic. It hides behind planning. It hides behind phrases like, "I'm just making sure everything is right." No, you're making sure you never have to face the possibility of failure. You have a choice. You can spend another year preparing, or you can spend the next year improving. Those are not the same thing. The world rewards execution. It rewards people who show up before they feel qualified. It rewards movement. Think about every successful entrepreneur you've ever admired. Very few launched the perfect business. Most launched an imperfect version. Then they improved. The first product wasn't the best. The first speech wasn't unforgettable. The first video wasn't viral. The first design wasn't world-class, but it existed. And because it existed, it could evolve. Someone else, perhaps even more talented, kept waiting. They wanted perfection. They wanted certainty. They wanted guarantees. Years passed. Nothing happened. Talent without action becomes regret. Average ability with relentless action becomes excellence. Done creates opportunities. Perfect creates delays. That's the key. Fear rarely introduces itself honestly. Fear almost never says, "I'm afraid." Instead, fear says, "You need more preparation." Fear says, "Maybe next month." Fear says, "Keep researching." Fear disguises itself as productivity. You convince yourself you're learning, but learning without implementation eventually becomes avoidance. Knowledge is powerful. Applied knowledge is transformational. There's a difference. Research has value. Preparation has value. Planning has value, but only until they become substitutes for action. Ask yourself one simple question. Am I preparing to begin, or am I preparing to avoid beginning? That question changes everything. You don't need another excuse. You need another attempt. Entrepreneurs discover what customers actually want by launching. Writers become better by publishing. Athletes improve by competing. Creators grow by creating. Nobody develops confidence sitting on the sidelines. Clarity appears after movement, not before. Move, adjust, move again, improve. That's how growth works. You don't need their permission. You don't need universal approval. You don't need everyone to believe in your vision. You need to believe enough to begin. That's the difference. Waiting feels safe. Action feels uncomfortable. But comfort has a hidden price. Every day spent waiting quietly compounds into months. Months become years. Years become a lifetime of wondering what might have happened. You have a choice. Start imperfectly or stay perfectly invisible. It's not about having all the answers. It's about asking better questions while moving forward. It's not about certainty. It's about discipline. Discipline to act when motivation disappears. Discipline to continue when excitement fades. Discipline to improve after every mistake. That's the key. Now understand something even more important. Confidence is not something you find. Confidence is something you build. Most people believe confidence comes first. They're wrong. They think confident people take action. The truth is exactly the opposite. Action creates confidence. Every completed task tells your brain something powerful. I can do difficult things. Every promise you make to yourself strengthens your identity. Every uncomfortable action expands your capacity. Small victories become larger victories. Daily consistency becomes personal belief. Belief becomes identity. Identity becomes destiny. Confidence is earned, never gifted. Move first, improve second. Repeat it. Move first, improve second. The first conversation will be awkward. The first presentation will be imperfect. The first business idea may fail. The first workout may exhaust you. Good. That means you're growing. Because growth is messy. Progress is imperfect. Transformation is uncomfortable. And that's exactly how it should be. Remember this whenever hesitation whispers in your ear. Done creates opportunities. Perfect creates delays. Move first, improve second. You have a choice. The life you want isn't waiting for perfection. It's waiting for action. Master this lesson, and you've already separated yourself from the majority of people who spend their lives waiting instead of living. You have stopped waiting for the perfect moment. Now it's time to confront the next invisible prison that keeps people trapped.
Chapter 2. Your comfort zone is quietly destroying you. Most people don't fail because life defeats them. They fail because comfort seduces them. Comfort doesn't arrive with a warning. It doesn't announce itself as the enemy. It feels harmless. It feels deserved. It whispers, "You've done enough today." It tells you, "Tomorrow is another day." And before you realize it, days become months. Months become years. Years become a life that looks nothing like the one you imagined. Comfort is expensive, not because of what it costs today, because of what it quietly steals tomorrow. Comfort feels safe today, but becomes regret tomorrow. Say it again. Comfort feels safe today, but becomes regret tomorrow. Every meaningful transformation begins with feeling unqualified. Every single one. Nobody feels completely ready to become a leader. Nobody feels completely prepared to become a business owner. Nobody feels fully qualified to become a parent, a creator, or an expert. Readiness is not the requirement. Commitment is. That's the key. Look at the people who accomplish extraordinary things. They didn't wait until every skill was mastered. They accepted the responsibility first. Then they developed the skills required to carry it. They learned while doing. They adjusted while moving. They improved while struggling. Action became their teacher. Experience became their classroom. You have a choice. You can stay where your comfort feels comfortable, or you can enter the place where your potential begins. Your next level exists outside your current habits. Repeat that until it becomes part of your identity. Your next level exists outside your current habits. If you wake up every day following the exact same routine, making the exact same decisions, avoiding the exact same risks, why would you expect a different future? New results demand new behaviors, not someday, today.
Start volunteering for the difficult assignment. Speak up when you normally stay silent. Apply for the position that intimidates you. Launch the project you've been postponing. Learn the skill you've convinced yourself is beyond your ability. Every uncomfortable action stretches your capacity. Every challenge expands your identity. Every disciplined decision makes the next one easier. It's not about talent, it's about discipline. It's not about certainty, it's about courage. It's not about feeling ready, it's about becoming ready through consistent action. That's the difference between people who dream and people who build. One group waits, the other moves. One group protects comfort, the other embraces growth. One group watches opportunities pass, the other creates opportunities through action. You don't need their permission, you need your decision. Remember this every time comfort calls your name. Comfort feels safe today, but becomes regret tomorrow. Your next level exists outside your current habits. The comfort zone is not protecting your future. It is quietly stealing it. Break free from it and you move one step closer to reaching your full potential. You have challenged comfort. Now it's time to confront an even greater enemy, the invisible force that controls more lives than failure ever has.
You're letting fear make your decisions. Fear has convinced millions of people to live lives they never wanted, not because fear is powerful, because they believed they had to eliminate it before they could move. That belief is a lie. Fear doesn't need to disappear. You simply need to stop obeying it. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is action in the presence of fear. That's the difference. If you're waiting to feel fearless before starting the business, asking for the promotion, speaking your truth, or chasing your dream, you'll wait forever. Fear will always find a reason to stay. It will always whisper another excuse. It will always invent another risk. That's what fear does. Fear predicts. Action reveals. Repeat that. Fear predicts. Action reveals. Fear tells you everyone will laugh. Action reveals that most people are too busy thinking about themselves. Fear tells you one mistake will ruin everything. Action reveals that mistakes are usually forgotten long before success is. Fear tells you failure is permanent. Action reveals that failure is often temporary and growth is permanent. You have a choice. You can continue believing fear's predictions, or you can gather your own evidence through action. That's the key. Fear is a terrible fortune teller. It exaggerates consequences. It magnifies embarrassment. It minimizes your capability. It convinces you that one uncomfortable moment defines your entire future. It doesn't. Think back to moments that once terrified you. Your first interview, your first presentation, your first difficult conversation, your first major decision. They felt enormous at the time. Today, they're simply memories. That's because fear always feels larger before action than after it. Fear predicts. Action reveals. The people you admire have experienced fear just as intensely as you have. The difference is they refused to let fear make their decisions. They understood something most people never learn. Failure is information, not identity. Read that again. Failure is information, not identity. Too many people confuse an outcome with who they are. A failed business becomes, I'm a failure. A rejected application becomes, I'm not good enough. A difficult season becomes, I'll never succeed. No, those are stories, not facts. Every setback contains feedback. Every mistake teaches something success never could. The most successful entrepreneurs have launched products that failed. The greatest athletes have lost championship games. The most celebrated authors have received rejection after rejection. The greatest inventors spent years refining ideas that didn't work before discovering ones that did. They didn't become extraordinary because they avoided failure. They became extraordinary because they learned from it. That's the key. Failure answers questions. It tells you what needs improvement. It exposes weaknesses. It sharpens judgment. It develops resilience. Only your ego turns feedback into identity.
Detach emotionally from temporary setbacks. Look at them objectively. Ask better questions. What worked? What didn't? What needs to change? Then move. It's not about failure. It's about discipline. The discipline to learn. The discipline to adapt. The discipline to continue. You don't need their permission. You don't need everyone to understand your journey. You only need the willingness to keep moving. Now, ask yourself one question. What if I fail? That's the question fear loves. It has stopped businesses before they were started, books before they were written, careers before they were pursued, dreams before they were lived. Now replace it with a better question. What if I don't try? What if I don't try and spend the next 20 years wondering what could have happened? What if I don't try and watch someone with less talent build the life I wanted? What if I don't try because I chose temporary comfort over lasting fulfillment? What if I don't try? Ask it again. What if I don't try? Temporary embarrassment lasts minutes. Lifelong regret lasts decades. One uncomfortable conversation is easier than years of wondering. One failed attempt is easier than a lifetime of imagining. One lesson learned is worth more than 1,000 excuses. You have a choice. You can collect reasons or you can collect experiences. One keeps you trapped, the other makes you stronger. Fear predicts, action reveals. Remember that every time hesitation shows up. Walk into the interview, launch the project, make the phone call, submit the application, have the conversation, take the first step. Not because you're fearless, because you're disciplined. Every action weakens fear's control. Every decision builds courage. Every challenge expands your identity. Your future is not determined by the fears you feel. It is determined by the decisions you make despite them. That's the key. Fear has one mission, to convince you to stay where you are. Your mission is to keep moving anyway, because every step taken in spite of fear brings you closer to the person you're capable of becoming. You have stopped letting fear make your decisions. Now it's time to examine the daily routines that quietly determine the direction of your life.
Chapter 4. Your daily habits are shaping your future. Most people believe their future will be changed by one big moment, one lucky break, one brilliant idea, one life-changing opportunity. They're wrong. Your future is rarely created by one extraordinary decision. It is created by thousands of ordinary ones. That's the truth. Your life is your routine. Look at your habits and you're looking at your future. Look at your daily actions and you're looking at tomorrow. You don't become successful because of what you do once. You become successful because of what you repeat. That's the key. You don't become your goals, you become your systems. Say it again. You don't become your goals, you become your systems. Goals give you direction. Systems determine whether you ever arrive. Everyone has goals. Millions of people want better health. Millions want financial freedom. Millions want stronger relationships. Millions want to become more confident. But desire without discipline is only wishful thinking. You have a choice. You can continue chasing goals while ignoring your daily habits, or you can improve your systems and allow the results to take care of themselves. Think about a single drop of water. One drop seems insignificant, but thousands of drops carve through solid rock, not because of force, because of consistency. Your habits work the same way. One workout changes very little. One healthy meal changes very little. One page read changes very little. One difficult conversation changes very little. But repeat those actions every day for a year, and your identity begins to change. Your confidence grows, your discipline strengthens, your standards rise. That's how transformation happens. Quietly, gradually, consistently. You don't become your goals, you become your systems. Now, let's talk about motivation.
People worship motivation. They wait for it. They chase it. They depend on it. That is a mistake. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is intentional. Motivation shows up when life feels exciting. Discipline shows up when life feels difficult. That's why discipline wins. Professional athletes don't train only when they feel inspired. They train because it's scheduled. Elite musicians don't practice only when they're in the mood. They practice because it's part of who they are. Successful entrepreneurs don't build businesses only on energetic days. They execute whether they feel motivated or not. That's the difference. The professionals trust systems. Amateurs trust feelings. Feelings change. Systems remain. It's not about motivation. It's about discipline. That's the key. Build routines that remove decision-making. Wake up at the same time. Exercise at the same time. Read before bed. Plan tomorrow before sleeping. Protect focused work. Repeat, repeat, repeat. When good habits become automatic, success becomes more predictable. Consistency will always outperform intensity. Anyone can work hard for one day. Anyone can stay focused for one weekend. Anyone can become excited for 1 month. Very few people remain consistent for years. Those are the people who create extraordinary lives. Not because they're extraordinary, because their habits are. You have a choice. Stop looking for dramatic breakthroughs. Start building daily victories. Now, pay attention to something that most people overlook. Small decisions build big futures. Every choice casts a vote for the person you're becoming. Choosing to wake up instead of pressing snooze. Choosing water instead of another sugary drink. Choosing to read instead of scrolling. Choosing to save instead of spending. Choosing to practice instead of procrastinating. None of these choices feel life-changing, but together they become your life. Little choices become lifelong consequences. Repeat it. Little choices become lifelong consequences. One excuse becomes a habit. One habit becomes a lifestyle. One lifestyle becomes your future. That works in both directions. Good habits compound. Bad habits compound. The question isn't whether your choices matter. The question is what they're building. That's why habit stacking is so powerful. Attach one positive habit to another. Read for 10 minutes after breakfast. Stretch before your morning shower. Write your goals after making your coffee. Practice gratitude before checking your phone. Small improvements require little effort, but over time they produce extraordinary results. Improve by 1% today, then 1% tomorrow, then 1% the day after that. Those tiny gains multiply. Years later, people call it overnight success. They never saw the thousands of ordinary decisions that made it possible. You don't need their permission. You don't need perfect conditions. You need one disciplined decision followed by another. Your routine is writing your future, whether you realize it or not. So write it intentionally. Build habits that serve the life you want. Protect the systems that make success inevitable. Remember these truths. You don't become your goals. You become your systems. Little choices become lifelong consequences. That's the key. Master your daily habits and you stop leaving your future to chance. You begin building it one disciplined decision at a time. You have transformed the way you think about habits. Now it's time to confront another invisible obstacle, the voice inside your own mind that may be holding you back more than anyone else ever could. Chapter 5. You're listening to the wrong voice. There is one voice you hear more than anyone else's. It speaks from the moment you wake up until the moment you fall asleep. It comments on your decisions. It judges your mistakes. It predicts your future. It tells you what you're capable of. That voice is your own. The question is simple. Is it helping you grow, or is it keeping you small? Most people spend their lives arguing with critics on the outside while completely trusting the critic on the inside. That is one of the greatest mistakes you can make. Not every thought deserves your belief. Not every feeling deserves your obedience. Not every fear deserves your attention. That's the key. Your thoughts are not always facts. Sometimes they are habits. Sometimes they are old stories. Sometimes they are borrowed opinions from people who never believed in you. Yet many people accept them without question. I'll never be successful. I'm not smart enough. I'm too late. People like me don't achieve things like that. Those sentences may feel true. That doesn't make them true. They are repeated assumptions, and repeated assumptions become beliefs. Your mind believes what you repeatedly tell it. Repeat that. Your mind believes what you repeatedly tell it. If you tell yourself you're incapable every day, your behavior will eventually match that belief. If you constantly expect rejection, you'll avoid opportunities. If you repeatedly tell yourself you're unlucky, you'll stop looking for possibilities. Your internal story becomes your external reality. You have a choice. You can continue repeating limiting beliefs, or you can begin replacing them with empowering ones. It's not about pretending problems don't exist. It's about refusing to let those problems define your identity. That's the difference. The strongest prison is often invisible. It's built from words. Words spoken to yourself over and over again. Now ask yourself a powerful question. If someone spoke to your best friend the way you speak to yourself, would you allow it? Probably not. So why tolerate it from yourself? Challenge every limiting thought. Demand evidence. Instead of saying, "I'll never succeed," ask, "What evidence proves that?" Instead of saying, "I'm not capable," ask, "What skill can I develop?" Replace assumptions with action. Replace emotion with evidence. That's the key. Now consider another truth. Confidence is contagious. That's why role models matter. Every successful person you study expands your sense of what's possible. When you read about someone who overcame poverty, rejection, failure, or fear, your excuses begin to lose their power. Their story becomes evidence. Evidence replaces doubt. That's why you should borrow confidence until you build your own. You don't need their permission, you need their example. Read biographies, listen to interviews, observe disciplined people. Notice how they think. Notice how they respond to setbacks. Notice the questions they ask. Notice the standards they live by. Success leaves clues. Pay attention to them. When you surround yourself with examples of resilience, your mind slowly begins to believe that resilience belongs to you as well. It's not about copying someone else's life. It's about proving to yourself that growth is possible. Every mentor, whether met in person or through a book, helps rewrite your internal narrative. They remind you that ordinary people accomplish extraordinary things through extraordinary consistency. Now it is your turn to rewrite your own story. The language you use creates the identity you live. People often focus on changing their actions while ignoring their words. That approach rarely lasts. Identity begins with internal language. Instead of asking, "Why does this always happen to me?" ask, "What can this teach me?" Instead of asking, "Can I do this?" ask, "How can I learn to do this?" Instead of saying, "I'm terrible at this," say, "I'm still learning." Those small changes reshape the way your mind searches for solutions. Your brain answers the questions you repeatedly ask. Ask powerless questions, and you'll receive powerless answers. Ask empowering questions, and your perspective begins to change. Act like your future self today. Repeat it. Act like your future self today. How would your future self respond to rejection? How would your future self manage time? How would your future self speak to others? How would your future self speak to themselves? Start there. Speak with confidence before you fully feel it. Stand with discipline before it feels natural. Choose responsibility before it becomes comfortable. Eventually, your actions will catch up to your words. Your identity will catch up to your actions. That's how transformation happens. You have a choice. Continue listening to the voice that reminds you of your limitations, or begin building the voice that reminds you of your potential. Your mind believes what you repeatedly tell it. Act like your future self today. Those aren't just motivational phrases, they're instructions. Follow them consistently, and the person you become will be unrecognizable from the person you are today. You have changed the conversation happening inside your mind. Now it's time to examine another powerful influence that silently shapes your future every single day.
Chapter 6. You're surrounded by average thinking. You may believe your future is determined by your willpower. It isn't. Willpower matters, but environment matters more. The people around you, the conversations you hear, the content you consume, the standards you accept, the expectations you live with. All of these quietly shape the person you become, whether you notice it or not. That's the key. You don't rise to the level of your intentions. You often fall to the level of your environment. Your environment is always influencing your future. Repeat that. Your environment is always influencing your future. Think about a seed. A healthy seed planted in poor soil struggles to grow. The problem isn't the seed, the problem is the environment. People are no different. Place an ambitious person in an environment filled with excuses, negativity, and complacency, and eventually their ambition begins to fade. Place that same person among disciplined, optimistic, growth-minded individuals, and their standards begin to rise. Success is contagious. So is mediocrity. You have a choice. You can continue adapting to an environment that limits you, or you can intentionally build one that strengthens you. It's not about willpower, it's about discipline. The discipline to choose your surroundings wisely. Look around your life. Do the people closest to you challenge you to grow, or do they encourage you to stay comfortable? Do your daily conversations revolve around ideas, solutions, and opportunities, or do they revolve around complaints, gossip, and excuses? Every environment has a culture. Every culture shapes behavior. That's why thriving environments produce thriving people. In a workplace where excellence is expected, people naturally raise their standards. On a team where accountability is normal, discipline becomes contagious. In families where learning is celebrated, curiosity becomes a habit. The opposite is equally true. Toxic environments normalize laziness. They reward excuses. They criticize ambition. They mock discipline. Spend enough time there, and average begins to feel normal. That's dangerous. Your environment is always influencing your future. Now think beyond the people around you. Consider what enters your mind every single day. Your mental diet is just as important as your physical diet. You would think twice before eating unhealthy food 3 times a day, yet many people consume negativity from the moment they wake up until they go to sleep. Hours of endless scrolling, constant outrage, celebrity drama, arguments, gossip, fear, comparison. Then they wonder why they feel anxious, distracted, and unmotivated. Information becomes identity. What you repeatedly consume eventually shapes what you repeatedly think. What you repeatedly think shapes what you repeatedly do. That's the key. Protect your mind. Protect your attention. Protect your focus. Not every headline deserves your energy. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Not every trend deserves your participation. You have a choice. Feed your mind with growth or feed it with noise. Read books that expand your thinking.
Listen to people who challenge your assumptions. Study ideas that strengthen your character. Limit the voices that constantly drain your confidence. You don't need their permission. You need stronger inputs. Remember this: your mind cannot consistently produce greatness if it is constantly consuming mediocrity. Now let's talk about the people you choose to walk beside. Who you spend time with becomes who you become. Repeat it. Who you spend time with becomes who you become. Stand beside people who make excuses, and excuses begin to sound reasonable. Stand beside disciplined people, and discipline becomes expected. Stand beside optimistic people, and possibilities become easier to see. Human beings naturally adapt. The question is, what are you adapting to? Ambitious people understand this. They intentionally seek environments where growth is normal. They attend conferences. They join professional communities. They find mentors. They read books written by people who have achieved what they hope to achieve. They build friendships with people who challenge them instead of comforting them. Not because they're trying to impress others, because they understand that standards are contagious. If you cannot immediately change everyone around you, change your exposure. Spend more time with inspiring ideas. Listen to educational podcasts during your commute. Join communities centered on learning. Volunteer where disciplined people gather. Take courses that connect you with people striving to improve. Every positive influence becomes another voice reminding you of what's possible. That's the key. Your future will rarely exceed the standards you consistently tolerate. Raise your standards, raise your environment, raise your expectations, and your behavior will begin to rise with them. Remember these truths. Your environment is always influencing your future. Who you spend time with becomes who you become. Choose wisely, because the people, places, and ideas surrounding you today are quietly creating the person you'll become tomorrow. You have strengthened your environment. Now it's time to confront another silent enemy that steals more dreams than most people ever realize.
Chapter 7. You're addicted to distraction. One of the greatest threats to your potential isn't failure. It isn't competition. It isn't a lack of talent. It's distraction. Not the dramatic kind, the quiet kind. The kind that steals 10 minutes here, 20 minutes there. One unnecessary notification. One endless scroll. One more video. One more excuse. By the end of the day, hours have disappeared. Not because someone took them from you, because you gave them away. That's the truth. Distraction steals dreams quietly. Repeat it. Distraction steals dreams quietly. The modern world is designed to compete for one thing: your attention. Every app wants it. Every advertisement wants it. Every notification demands it. Every headline fights for it. The more divided your attention becomes, the weaker your ability to think deeply. And deep thinking is where meaningful progress begins. You have a choice. You can let the world control your attention, or you can decide where your attention belongs. That's the key. Think about the difference between sunlight and a laser. Sunlight is powerful, but it is scattered. A laser concentrates that same energy into one focused point. That concentration cuts through steel. Your mind works the same way. Scattered attention creates average results. Focused attention creates extraordinary results. When you constantly switch between tasks, messages, videos, emails, and conversations, your brain pays a hidden price. It takes time to regain focus. It loses momentum. It produces lower quality work. The problem isn't that you're working. The problem is that you're constantly interrupting yourself.
Every interruption has a cost. Every distraction weakens your momentum. Distraction steals dreams quietly. That's why so many people feel busy without feeling accomplished. Now let's separate two ideas that are often confused: being busy, being productive. They are not the same. Busy people fill their calendars. Productive people move their priorities forward. Busy people answer every message immediately. Productive people protect uninterrupted work. Busy people confuse motion with progress. Productive people measure results. That's the difference. Imagine someone running on a treadmill. They're moving constantly, sweating, working hard, but they are not getting closer to a destination. Many people live exactly that way. Their schedules are full. Their minds are exhausted. Yet the projects that truly matter remain unfinished. That's the trap of constant busyness. Activity can become another form of procrastination. You answer emails instead of writing the proposal. You organize your desk instead of starting the business. You rearrange your plans instead of executing them. Movement feels productive, but only meaningful action creates meaningful progress. It's not about activity, it's about discipline. The discipline to ask one simple question: is this moving me toward my goal? If the answer is no, it deserves less of your time. That's the key. Your priorities deserve your best energy, not your leftovers. Now let's reclaim what matters most: your attention. Attention is your greatest asset. Repeat it. Attention is your greatest asset. Protect it the way you would protect your health or your finances. Because without focused attention, neither health nor wealth reaches its full potential. Start with your phone. Turn off unnecessary notifications. Not every vibration deserves an immediate response. Create moments when your phone is out of sight. The fewer interruptions you experience, the stronger your concentration becomes. Next, schedule focused work sessions. Choose one important task. Set a timer for 45 to 60 minutes. During that time, eliminate every distraction. No social media, no unnecessary emails, no multitasking, just one priority. Then, take a short, intentional break. Stand up, stretch, walk, reset your mind, then return with purpose. This rhythm trains your brain to sustain deep focus instead of constant stimulation. Plan your day before it begins. Know your 3 most important tasks. Complete them before giving your attention to less important demands. Remember this: if you don't decide where your attention goes, someone else will. You don't need their permission. You need stronger boundaries. You need greater clarity. You need the discipline to say no. No to unnecessary meetings. No to endless scrolling. No to distractions disguised as entertainment. Every time you protect your attention, you invest in your future. Every time you reclaim an hour of focused work, you move closer to the person you're capable of becoming. Distraction steals dreams quietly. Attention is your greatest asset. Never forget those 2 truths. Because your attention shapes your actions. Your actions shape your habits. Your habits shape your future. You have a choice. Guard your focus, protect your priorities, and build a life that reflects intentional action instead of constant reaction. You have reclaimed your attention.
Now it's time to confront the final barrier that separates those who stay stuck from those who transform: the willingness to take complete ownership of your life.
Chapter 8. You're avoiding responsibility. There is one decision that separates people who transform their lives from those who spend years standing still. It is not intelligence, it is not talent, it is not luck, it is ownership. The moment you take complete responsibility for your life, everything changes. Not because your circumstances change overnight, because your power returns. That's the key. Many people confuse responsibility with blame. They are not the same. Blame looks backwards. Responsibility looks forward. Blame asks, whose fault is this? Responsibility asks, what can I do now? That single shift changes everything. You cannot always control what happens to you. You can always control how you respond. You have a choice. You can spend your energy explaining why life is unfair, or you can spend that same energy building a better future. Only one of those choices moves your life forward. Responsibility creates freedom. Repeat it. Responsibility creates freedom. At first, that sounds backwards. Most people think responsibility is a burden. It isn't. It is the path to freedom. The moment you accept ownership, you stop waiting for someone else to rescue you. You stop depending on better timing. You stop hoping other people will change first. You realize that your next decision belongs to you. And that realization is powerful, because what belongs to you can be improved by you. That's the difference. It's not about blame, it's about discipline. The discipline to own your choices, the discipline to own your mistakes, the discipline to own your future. Now let's talk about excuses. Excuses are comforting. That's why they're dangerous. They make failure feel reasonable. They remove pressure. They protect the ego, but they never solve the problem. Excuses feel good, but produce nothing. Listen carefully to the excuses people repeat. I don't have enough time. I wasn't born with those advantages. I'm waiting for the right opportunity. I'm too old. I'm too young. I'll start next month. Every excuse offers temporary relief, but every excuse also delays progress. Leaders and victims often face the same obstacles. The difference is not the obstacle, it's the response. Victims search for someone to blame. Leaders search for the next step. Victims focus on what they cannot control. Leaders focus on what they can improve. Victims wait for motivation. Leaders build discipline.
Chapter 9. You are living without a clear purpose. Many people work hard. They wake up early. They stay busy. They fill every hour of the day. Yet years pass, and they wonder why they feel stuck. The answer is simple. Hard work without direction leads nowhere. Effort alone is not enough. Movement alone is not enough. You can climb a ladder with incredible determination, but if that ladder is leaning against the wrong wall, every step takes you farther from the life you actually want. That's why direction matters more than speed. A clear target changes every decision. Repeat it. A clear target changes every decision. Imagine two ships leaving the same harbor. One has a destination, a map, and a compass. The other simply sails wherever the wind takes it. Both are moving, only one is progressing. That is the difference between drifting through life and living intentionally. You have a choice. You can allow circumstances to decide your future, or you can decide your future before circumstances have the chance. That's the key. When you know where you're going, your daily decisions become easier. You stop saying yes to distractions. You stop wasting energy on things that don't matter. You stop chasing opportunities that don't align with your values. Purpose becomes a filter. It tells you what deserves your attention and what does not. Without purpose, every option feels equally important. With purpose, priorities become obvious. It's not about working harder, it's about working with discipline and direction. Now ask yourself a question that few people ever stop to consider. What kind of person do you want to become? Not what do you want to own, not what title do you want, not how much money do you want. Who do you want to become? That answer changes everything. Because purpose is bigger than achievement. Purpose gives achievement meaning. When your vision is built only around personal success, motivation fades quickly. But when your vision includes serving others, solving problems, and leaving something valuable behind, your determination grows stronger. Meaningful goals create resilient people. Think about the teacher who wants to shape future generations, the entrepreneur determined to improve people's lives, the parent committed to building a stronger family, the artist creating work that inspires hope. Their work becomes bigger than themselves. That is why they continue when things become difficult. Purpose creates endurance. Purpose creates resilience. Purpose reminds you why the struggle is worth it. That's the key. You don't need their permission. You need a vision worthy of your effort. Stop measuring success only by what you receive. Measure it by what you contribute. The greatest leaders understand this. They focus on creating value. They solve meaningful problems. They improve the lives of others through their discipline and excellence. Ironically, those who serve with excellence often receive the greatest rewards. Long-term thinking changes short-term behavior. When you think in decades instead of days, temporary discomfort becomes easier to accept. Small setbacks become less intimidating. Patience becomes a strength instead of a weakness. Now it's time to turn vision into action. A dream without a plan is only a wish. Visualization is powerful, but visualization alone changes nothing. You must reverse engineer your future. Start with the destination. Picture the life you want to build, the habits you want to have, the character you want to possess, the impact you want to make. Then work backward. Ask yourself what must happen 5 years before that vision, then 1 year, before, then 6 months, then 1 month, then this week. Finally, ask the most important question of all. What must I do today? That's where transformation begins. Today's choices build tomorrow's identity. Repeat it. Today's choices build tomorrow's identity. Big dreams are accomplished through small, consistent actions. 1 page written today becomes a book. 1 workout becomes a healthier body. 1 conversation strengthens a relationship. 1 disciplined decision creates momentum. Every meaningful future is built 1 ordinary day at a time. You have a choice. Dream without acting or dream with discipline. Choose the second. Review your vision regularly. Write your goals where you can see them. Measure your progress. Adjust your plan when necessary, but never abandon your purpose because the journey becomes difficult. Difficulty does not mean you're on the wrong path. It often means you're growing into the person capable of walking it. Remember these truths. A clear target changes every decision. Today's choices build tomorrow's identity. Your purpose is not something you wait to discover. It is something you strengthen through consistent action and intentional living. Every disciplined choice brings your future closer. Every focused day makes your vision more real. You are no longer drifting. You are choosing your direction. And when direction combines with discipline, your full potential is no longer a possibility. It becomes a destination you are steadily approaching. You have found your direction. Now it's time for the final chapter, the moment where everything you've learned becomes one defining decision.
Chapter 10. Decide that this is the day everything changes.
This is the moment everything has been leading toward. Not tomorrow, not next Monday, not next year, now. Every chapter you've heard has pointed to one undeniable truth. Your life changes the moment your decisions change. Not your circumstances, not your luck, not other people. Your decisions. That's the key. Many people spend years waiting for a breakthrough. They imagine it will arrive like lightning. One incredible opportunity, one life-changing event, one perfect moment that transforms everything. That isn't how transformation works. Breakthroughs begin quietly. They begin with a decision, an invisible commitment made long before anyone else notices the results. Decision precedes destiny. Repeat it. Decision precedes destiny. The person who becomes financially free first decides to manage money differently. The person who becomes healthy first decides to live differently. The person who builds a meaningful career first decides to show up differently. Everything changes internally before it changes externally. You have a choice. You can continue waiting for your life to improve, or you can become the reason it improves. It's not about emotion, it's about discipline. Emotions come and go. Commitment remains. Motivation fades. Commitment continues. Excitement disappears. Commitment shows up anyway. That's why commitment matters more than emotion. The strongest people are not those who always feel inspired. They are those who continue long after inspiration has disappeared. Decision precedes destiny. Now, think back to everything you've learned. You stopped waiting for perfect conditions. You stepped outside your comfort zone. You refused to let fear make your decisions. You committed to systems instead of empty goals. You changed the conversation inside your mind. You upgraded your environment. You reclaimed your attention. You accepted responsibility. You discovered the power of purpose. None of these lessons stand alone. Together, they create a new way of living. That's the key. Transformation is never built on one dramatic action. It is built on thousands of repeated decisions. Every morning you wake up, your identity is being shaped. Every conversation, every habit, every choice, every response to difficulty, every moment is another opportunity to become the person you are capable of becoming. You have a choice. Repeat yesterday or create tomorrow. The future belongs to people who choose consistency over intensity. Anyone can change for one day. Anyone can stay disciplined for 1 week. Extraordinary people remain disciplined for years. That is where greatness is found. Not in dramatic moments, but in ordinary moments repeated with extraordinary consistency. Build routines that protect your growth. Guard your standards. Keep your promises to yourself. Celebrate progress, but never become comfortable. Always remember that success is not a destination, it is a discipline. That's the difference. Lifelong growth requires lifelong commitment. There will be difficult seasons. There will be setbacks. There will be moments when old habits try to return. Expect them. Prepare for them. Refuse to surrender to them. Every challenge is another opportunity to prove who you have become. You don't need their permission. You need your own commitment. Now, ask yourself one final question. Who do you admire? Think beyond money. Think beyond status. Think beyond recognition. What qualities do they possess? Discipline? Integrity? Courage? Consistency? Humility? Resilience? Now, ask a better question. What would that person do today? Not next year, today. Identity always comes before achievement. People who become extraordinary first decide to live by extraordinary standards. Achievements simply reveal the identity that already exists. So stop chasing titles, stop chasing applause, stop chasing validation.
Become the kind of person those things naturally follow. Read when you don't feel like reading. Train when you don't feel like training. Keep your word when nobody is watching. Choose courage when fear feels louder. Choose discipline when comfort feels easier. Choose responsibility when excuses seem tempting. Those choices shape your identity. That identity shapes your future. Decision precedes destiny. Never forget it. As this audiobook comes to an end, your real journey begins. Do not close this chapter and return to the same habits. Do not let inspiration fade into memory. Take one action immediately. Write down your purpose. Delete one distraction. Start one habit. Make one phone call. Submit one application. Have one difficult conversation. Take one step, then another, then another. Momentum begins with movement. Your future is not determined by what you know. It is determined by what you repeatedly do. You have a choice. This can become another audiobook you listen to, or it can become the turning point of your life. Make today the day you stopped waiting, the day you stopped hiding, the day you finally chose the person you were meant to become. Remember these words whenever doubt returns. Decision precedes destiny. Your future is waiting for your next decision. Repeat it one last time. Your future is waiting for your next decision. Your future is waiting for your next decision. You now know the truth. Your potential was never limited by luck, talent, or circumstances. It was limited by hesitation, comfort, fear, distraction, excuses, weak habits, and unclear direction. Every chapter has pointed to the same lesson. Your future changes the moment your daily decisions change. Stop waiting. Stop doubting. Stop negotiating with the version of yourself that wants to stay comfortable. Choose discipline over convenience. Choose action over excuses. Choose consistency over motivation. Every great life is built one decision, one habit, and one courageous step at a time. The question is no longer whether you have potential. The question is whether you'll finally commit to reaching it. Starting today, prove it, not with words, but with your actions. If this audiobook challenged your thinking and inspired you to grow, like this video, subscribe to Mindshift Audiobooks, and join a community committed to becoming stronger, wiser, and more disciplined every single day. Your future is waiting. Go earn it.